The neighbor kept stealing his parking spot until he decided he was done with the games. There's nothing more stressful than trying to find a decent parking spot, especially in a busy city. Blessed are those that get to avoid this rush by having parking spaces within their apartments. But one unlucky fellow had to relive this nightmare over and over again until he had enough. This video tells the story of a man who had the luxury of his own parking space taken from him again and again. But there's honestly only so much one can take until he decides it's time to cut the nonsense. His apartment included double parking spots. He kept one for his friends who stay over, and he uses the other one for his car specifically. Most of the residents are aware of the double parking and usually avoid parking cars in front of one another. Doing so would cause the car to be boxed in, making it impossible to exit. Reddit user Angry Aussie Gamer found a car parked in front of his car every single day. Being a working man with a tight schedule, this caused many problems. He was constantly late for work, which slowed down his entire team. And this didn't just mess with his career, it also messed with his social life. During outings on a Friday night get-together, he isn't able to drive through town, and usually has to resort to having a friend pick him up. After a continuous headache, he realizes the problem would not go away on its own. He then tries a peaceful method to put an end to the parking spot theft. He chose to leave notes on the car's windshield to alert the driver of the inconvenience his parking causes. Thinking this was the solution, he heads to bed for the night in hopes of finding an open parking spot in the morning. Waking up the next morning and eager to see if his strategy was effective, he turned out to be let down because his neighbor paid the note no heed and continued to be a parking spot thief. He eventually chose to call his building manager and a towing company, desperate for a resolution, but his efforts were in vain because both parties refused to help. They also seemed quite unsympathetic. Things get particularly desperate when the unfortunate Reddit user's annual road trip day nears. It also happens to be his turn to drive when it comes to this road trip, but it looks like he's already run into a roadblock before the road trip is even started. With his neighbor's car parked in front, this seems next to impossible. While things are looking pretty gloomy, suddenly, his inner mechanic springs into action, and he comes up with a not-so-pleasant but brilliant idea. On the day of his trip, he heads into his tool compartment and grabs his car jacks. And with a little help from his friends, he props the car up using the car jacks. This allows the group to easily maneuver the car and place it elsewhere. And to teach this meddlesome driver a lesson, he decides to have some fun. The group moves the car into a tight space between two pillars, making it nearly impossible for this car to ever escape, let alone take his parking spot. Chances of him being blocked every day are now slim to none. They return from the trip to find the car is still there, and a few days later. Feeling slight remorse after thinking the guy's car might be stuck for good, but alas, it finally disappears. While very relieved the parking nightmare is over, Angry Aussie Gamer was left without a trace of who the owner was, and was left infinitely curious. At least he finally has some peace. Well, that's all we got for you in this video, but be sure to let us know what you found most interesting about this story, and stay tuned for other shocking stories and moments. Until then, we'll catch you in the next one. Take care.